My name's Don.
And I'm Peter.
And we are two plebs talking about... California.
This week in the DPRC.
You sound really excited about that.
Well, I was just trying not to sound flat.
Fair enough. I don't think anyone's worried about you being too flat, though. Anyway.
Probably not. Probably not.
Carrying on. So, California, in its eminent brilliance,
oh yeah,
has decided, I think we've covered before, to be a sanctuary state.
Yes.
And
yes.
They subsequently decided that not only are they going to be sanctuary, but various people, government officials, business owners, have to impede federal law enforcement, is what it comes down to.
Yes, because, companies are mandated to oppose them. Not,
right.
Which I find just asinine.
Yeah.
It's like, what if I want to comply with law enforcement and, actually assist with an investigation?
Well,
you're not allowed to when it comes to illegal immigrants.
Right. That would now be illegal, so complying with law enforcement would be not doing that.
Right.
Or doing that, depending on which law you're listening to.
Right.
So, that's nice.
Right.
But I think we have our first legitimate example of this happening.
Yes.
And it's happening in exactly the way that was predicted by at least this show, amongst other people.
Mm-hmm.
Which is to say, ISIS just started raiding things. That thing that, they're not doing in the rest of the country because the rest of the country is not a sanctuary state.
Yeah.
They are now doing here.
Yeah, they're just coming in and randomly going, okay, that looks like a place where illegals are likely to work. Let's go.
Pretty well, it's not randomly. I mean, they have a set of rules they follow, but I mean, from the outside, that's about what it looks like.
Right.
So
the ICE just shows up like, yep, we're doing our thing.
And so they did that in Oakland over the weekend, is what it sounds like.
Yes.
And the articles didn't start getting written until much later. We probably would have covered this before. However, they nabbed 150 illegal immigrants and then said, we probably could have got about 850 more, except that the mayor of Oakland told Oakland that we were coming.
Yep, and she did.
Now, at this point, at least it's on the table that you are impeding investigations.
Yeah. Well, in fact, her announcement that ICE was coming to do this was put on the news before ICE came in.
Oh, yeah. Well, definitely, right? So that they were coming is what the announcement was.
Right, but that actually hit the news.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like, what?
Right. Well, so news agencies have no duty to do anything here, right?
Right.
They report the news. And let's be honest, a mayor telling a federal agency to pound sand is news.
It is.
So
No. I'm not faulting the news agency at all.
However, though, the what is it? The mayor, right? This is pretty well obstruction of justice. Like, I don't see how it's not.
I don't see how it's not either, because she announced to her city that ICE was coming and they needed to hide. That is actively
right.
Interfering with an investigation.
So I'm really interested to see how this turns out.
Right.
Because if ICE goes, well, if you're going to do that, here's a warrant for your arrest.
Right, because that is an obstruction of justice.
I don't know what else to say. And we may very well get to see the state of California and the federal government fight this out in federal court.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, they're probably going to arrest the mayor of Oakland.
Probably.
So, I mean, look, they can say, by the way, that they think there was 850, but I'm always a little leery of that.
Right.
Because you don't actually know what you don't know.
No. I think the way the article was written, the way it sounded, is that they actually had a list of people that they were looking to get.
That is the implication, right?
So, out of that list, they were able to get 150.
Right.
Or more than 150.
Right.
I don't remember the exact number. But roughly 850 they were not able to find because the mayor announced that they were coming and these people needed to hide.
So, there's a reason that number matters. Mm-hmm. Which is to say, they can file 1 count of obstruction
Per person.
Because ICE is required, while they can arrest you as just collateral pickup, right?
Yeah.
And there's certainly nothing to stop them. When they're going in search of someone, they need a warrant.
Yeah.
So that's 850 counts of obstruction of justice. This one's going to the jail for the rest of her life if they push this.
If they decided to, yeah.
I mean...
Because, I don't see how it isn't.
I don't either, right? And it will be the state of California goes to federal court and goes, well, but we have this law, at which point the federal government goes, yeah, but the Supremacy Clause. Yeah, but the Civil War. Yeah, but every single time you told other state, you were championing states' rights mean slavery, therefore states have no rights. Look, we could wrap you up in this this is, you could build a RICO case based on this.
Yeah.
Right? So, look, and by the way, from there, you could start doing ridiculous things, which have been done in the past in other RICO cases, like attributing fault for anything that, this is the premise of RICO, right? Is that you attribute fault for everything that happened to everyone in the list.
Right.
And so the governor, all of the various assemblymen, everybody.
Yeah. And
by the way, you can, you produced a criminal action which produced another criminal action, right?
Right.
This is the, if you're robbing someone's house and you shoot them, even in self-defense, right? Because, another robber breaks in or something, then you still, it doesn't matter. Self-defense doesn't apply because you were mid-commission of a felony.
Right.
Well, if at any point anyone can prove one of those illegal immigrants murdered someone, she might have a hell of a problem.
Because she might be on the hook for it.
And so, I'm not in any way certain this will happen. And look, I understand for all of my various other armchair lawyers, right, that there's legally tenuous grounds for attaching that murder to her. But honestly, with 850 counts of obstruction of justice, who cares?
Right.
You're in prison for the rest of your natural life over having done this once. Great.
Right.
And by the way, as much as California will hate it, them's the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and she's already effectively trying to set it up for a protest in case she gets in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to protect the most vulnerable citizens of my city.
Yeah? Which ones were those?
Apparently the criminals are vulnerable.
Well,
because back to ICE are targeting people who have arrest records.
Yeah. Well, so what is that I in ICE? Immigration?
Immigration.
Huh. That sounds like not so much citizen, not so much vulnerable.
You remember, California's view is that even though they have not followed the process to enter the country legally, they are still citizens.
Well, that can be California's view all they want. My view is that the assault weapons ban in California isn't a law, so I need a 240.
Right.
I'm sure they will take up my point of view when I go to court over this.
No, they won't.
Oh. And I'm sure the feds hold that same opinion about California rewriting federal law however they feel like it.
No, I'm pretty sure they will. But, we're going to see what comes of this.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, this is, if this is not pursued, this is the ultimate lost opportunity.
It is.
Right? Because, look, just fact of the matter, you have 850 counts of obstruction sitting on the table waiting.
I think right now, some people are mulling over, should we really press this?
Well, there's somebody somewhere who's thinking of this, right?
Right.
Now, if I'm ICE, I'm saying, yeah, do it. Right? Stop the madness. Let me do my job.
Right.
Make an example. Charge her with all 850 counts.
Yeah.
But I guess to be fair, that's if I'm ICE, right?
Right.
So somebody somewhere is going to go like, well, this is going to cause a political problem because California is going to lose its shit. And by the way, if you're that person, if you somehow watch this and you have some control over how this goes, and you're thinking, well, there's going to be political backlash, just know that it's California.
No matter which way you go, there's going to be political backlash of some sort.
Yeah, I mean...
It's either we have triumphed over the demon today, and you will be the demon, or look at the tyrant oppressing us. Either way, you're fucked. Just get it done.
Right. It's the California. Vast majority of the state already hates you. They're going to stay hating you. They don't care what you do. You're the double-headed Hitler, or you work for him, right?
You're the right hand of Hitler.
Right. So,
you're already screwed. Just do
exactly. Right. So, at this point, I to some degree have to say, stop worrying about the political backlash on issues like this because, literally nothing has happened and there's already political backlash.
Right.
Because she's already complaining, what happens if they arrest me? Like, well, they haven't, but they should.
They should,
but
and
they
you go to jail.
Right.
That's all there's to it.
And by the way, I am to understand that federal charges of obstruction of justice are a really super big deal. Right. And I know that because of the Mueller investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty clearly, if she's charged with 850 counts of obstruction of justice, it doesn't matter that she's a mayor. It matters that she obstructed justice, and that bitch needs to go.
Right.
I mean, that's what I hear about Paul Manafort. So,
right.
Shouldn't it be true here?
Yes, it should.
Isn't it, this what matters is that she obstructed justice? And by the way, shouldn't this be some sort of, Mexican collusion story?
Oh, God, don't even go there. It's not.
No, not at all. But, I got more evidence for that than I do for Russia. So, shouldn't it? Isn't that how we, the right wing of the United States should be playing this?
Right. Maybe we should get somebody like Mueller to look into finances. Maybe MS-13 and the Serenials are paying them off.
Maybe that's what it is. And by the way, you say that jokingly, but Leland Yee was arrested for literally that, and he was a California assemblyman. So, it wasn't MS-13. It was, I think, the Tong, but same thing, same premise.
Same premise.
So,
Right?
Shouldn't that be on the table? Isn't that how we should be dealing with this? And by the way, then shouldn't we subsequently be having ICE raid more things to find more of these guys?
I think
by the way, shouldn't they now be doing it with no-knock warrants?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if
it's a known Sorenio or MS-13 member, then yeah.
You're missing the point here. No-knock warrant, you don't have to tell the mayor.
Oh.
Right?
Right.
So, are what we as California with our virtue signaling saying is, yes, we want these raids. Oh, and by the way, yes, we want them no-knock.
Apparently.
Right?
Because we're setting the environment so that that's going to be the only way they're going to be successful.
Yeah. And
they have a job to do.
Exactly. You don't have to like it, but that's the way it is.
Right.
So, it must be what we're asking for at this point.
Well, I think what it is that they don't realize that's what they're asking for. Because what they're actually asking for is leave all the poor, undocumented residents alone.
Yeah, sure.
We'll get them sorted out somehow eventually, or just let them stay in this current state that they're in. So you just need to leave them alone because we say so. And that's what they're actually asking for. What they don't realize is that what they're officially asking for is like, well, we have a job to do. Your pleas do not matter to us.
Right.
We have a job to do, and we're going to do it in the way that's going to be effective.
And this is the problem with most of California's mentality about anything, right? Because this goes basically to how we legislate anything. Gun laws. Well, as long as we say this is illegal, then no one will have it. Well, we're not actually saying no one will have it. Just basically no one will have it. Like, well, yeah, but that consistently is not the way it works out. But we said it is.
But we said that's how it's going to work. Therefore, you got to believe it.
Exactly.
As soon as we make the guns illegal, nobody will have them anymore. Which brings up, one of the more popular memes I've seen. It's like, well, if guns aren't on the shelves, no one will have guns. Like, really? When was the last time you saw crystal meth available on the shelf?
Right. And this is the method in which California does things. And this is yet another example where they have decided that their magical powers granted to their legislation means that everyone does whatever they want. Even though in this case, the federal government is saying, you can't do that. And they're saying, we're going to do it anyway.
Right, we're going to do it anyway.
The hypocrisy is intense.
Right, because their whole standpoint is like, as soon as we make it illegal, nobody will do it. Well, you say that's illegal? Well, we're going to make our own law that says it's legal for us to do it.
Right. And
they should all know that's not how the legal system works.
Exactly. Right? I mean,
it's not how the system works whatsoever.
And yet, here we are doing it. And so, I mean, look, as always, California needs to just ask the question, and then what? Right? Because when we did the sanctuary state thing, which happened mid-last year, we did a show on it, I said, you do realize this means ICE is going to just be raiding all over this goddamn state. And here we are.
And here we are. It's starting. They made a first attempt where they were still trying to actually cooperate with local law enforcement and government.
Yeah.
And then you fucked them.
Yeah.
They're going to make sure you can't fuck them in the future.
Right.
You are now getting scenes from Born in East LA.
Right.
That's going to happen now. You have asked for it.
Exactly. And yet somehow it's, oh my God, but how did this happen? Because the ability to project 8 seconds into the future what will happen based on some stupid action is well beyond our state government.
Apparently.
So, big surprise.
It's just... and the one part I really dislike us doing for the most part is that we only really mention, like, the Hispanic illegals that are around here, even though there's illegals of every nationality running around here. I don't want people thinking that we're targeting just Mexicans.
All right, look. So I understand that you're trying to be nice and courteous. If this whole table represented illegal immigration, well, right about my thumb in California represents the non-Hispanic illegal immigration.
Okay, I'm not saying that it's not
Let me be generous. My hand.
Okay.
I mean, yes, it does exist, but this is like, you've been shot and stubbed your toe. Which do you care about?
I've been shot.
Right. Still. And this is, look, illegal immigration is wrong. Yes, the handful, as it were, should be taken care of as well. But, I'll deal with my stubbed toe after I get to this hospital and get my bullet wound taken care of.
Right.
And, look, it's just the way that it is.
I understand that. I do. But back to, I don't want it to turn into what I effectively see all over the news, is that when we're talking about illegal immigration, the only people you see with signs protesting it are Hispanics.
Well, and
the white people supporting them.
And why is that, right? Because that's the majority.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous that we even have this conversation, and yet we pretty much have to, because of the things that you have just cut off. Is somebody in the comment section going, but like, there's a lot of Russians in California too, man. Right?
There are. And I believe from last estimate I heard about somewhere between 10 and 15% of illegal border crossing coming from down south is non-Hispanic.
So this is the South America using the term Hispanic to mean Mexican only?
No, that number it was including Indian, Middle Eastern peoples.
Well, right,
but obviously non-Hispanics.
The way that they get that number is they go, lots of people from Chile were immigrating here when their country was collapsing. Pretty soon we're going to have a lot of Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Because their country's collapsing.
Right.
And the trek across half a continent seems better than starving to death in Venezuela. And I don't blame them for that choice.
Right.
But that doesn't change what the problem is, right?
Right. It doesn't.
So, be that as it may, that is the problem. It's, that's what's causing, that particular group to immigrate. But, I mean, look, if that's what we're going with, then, I mean, again, the problem is still southern border and how porous it is.
Right.
And it's not so much whether, everybody and their brother with the well, but the vast majority of the people that we know are illegal immigrants are here overstaying visas. Yes, do you know why that is? Because when you immigrate through the southern border illegally, no one goes, hey, mind if I write your name on this list and by the way, I'll let you go?
Right.
However, when you overstay a visa, that is literally what happened.
Right.
Someone wrote your name on a list and then said, we trust you to leave when you're supposed to.
Right.
And then they didn't. So we have a list of who those people are.
We do.
We don't when you just migrate through the southern border and say, fuck your immigration laws.
Yeah, we don't have an accurate number because we just don't know.
Right. So, and, this is where you get anywhere between 3 and 30 million people being on that list. But, hey, it's okay, I guess.
Right. Apparently.
So, and don't get me wrong, as far as I can tell, the only people who've made a reasonable attempt at finding a number that's not ridiculous come in anywhere between 10 and 13 million. But still, if you want them taken care of in a way other than ice booting indoors, you don't have sanctuary state laws.
Start cooperating.
Yeah. It seems simple, and yet...
I mean, way to, pick up the state motto being now an NWA song of Fuck the Police.
And that's the end of our show for the day.
That's right. It's taco time.
However, before we go, we'd appreciate it if you shared us around.
You can find us on YouTube,
BitChute,
Facebook,
Twitter,
Patreon,
and Maker Support.
Thanks for stopping by.